How are we all doing? Morning, Evil. Morning, JC. Happy Friday. It's non-farm payroll day. It's good fun. Always good fun on a Friday, non-farm payroll. So we'll see what happens today. Market's just opened. That's the wrong charts. Where's my DAX? So short DAX, short FTSE this morning. Quick breaks. See where we go. We're down at these lows on the DAX this morning. Trying to just get straight out those lows. We're not far away from yesterday's low on the FTSE either. So if we do get a breakdown today, we've got this gap from the previous week to fill. So it could be a nice quick drive down today. They're certainly having a go at it, but we'll see if they get through. So it might be a nice clean break today. Morning, Virginia, Ismet, FTNet. How are we doing, Jules? FTNet, you and I now have a green name and a little blue badge. Well done. That wasn't working yesterday, was it, for some reason? It must be a time thing, I think. It just takes a while to kick in. So if you're watching on replay, leave a comment. If you've got any questions, anything you want to discuss, anything you want to look at. Today is non-farm payroll day. So news-wise, we have construction PMIs this morning for the pound. Don't really tend to do a lot. And then obviously 1:30, it's unemployment rate for the US. So potentially big volatility event. And today is the first unemployment rate we've had since the interest rate change. And this is the focal point of interest rates. They are monitoring the cooling of the labor market very, very closely. So this is a very, very important figure in regards to how much they drop rates at the next meeting. So it's got the potential, this one, to really drive the US today. So I suspect this morning we may find quite a bit of rotation as they're waiting for this to come out. So be aware of that, obviously. Non-farm payroll day, big day, always is. Either a massive whipsaw or a big move starts. So 1:30, and then we've got IV PMIs for the CAD at 3, which might do something. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, big potential mover there. Daylight savings time shift in Australia. So we've got the New Zealand rate next week as well. They're planning to come down by 0.5%. So big drop there. Overnight news, not a lot, mainly focused on the Israel situation, obviously. The PMIs yesterday came out significantly higher, indicating potential increase in inflation coming for the US. So if you look at the US yesterday, we had a big drop there on the pound. That was the pound movement. But with the US, the Euro US is probably the easiest gauge because that didn't move much yesterday, the Euro. That's all we got on the news yesterday. So no real impact on that PMI figure, which I was quite surprised about because it was quite a big hit there. We were on 51.5, forecasting 51.7. We got 54.9, 3% up. So big increase, but market didn't move. So I assume they're waiting for this today. So today we got a lot of volatility on the way. Morning, Roger, AZ. Morning, Sarah. Morning, Franco. How are we all doing? Today in the members section, members stream at 9 o'clock, we're going to be covering exit methods that work and which strategies they're suited to. So there's only 6 exit methods. There's only 6 ways you can get out of a trade. There's a million ways you can get into a trade, but there's only 6 ways you can get out. So we're going to cover all the exit strategies and look at how to test all those exit strategies on different strategies, basically. And obviously there's only 3 types of strategies in the planet. You got trend, mean reversion, and breakout. So it's looking at which exit strategies are suited to which entry mechanisms and strategies, basically. So that should be a good session. Really will simplify trading, I think, that one we're going to cover today, because it's the hardest part is And one of the things that the poll I did in Discord, no, on YouTube actually, one of the things that everybody struggles with is targeting and exits. It's easy to get into a trade. You can literally flip a coin and press the buy and sell button, but getting out is the hard part. So we're going to focus on that today in the session at 9. So far today, obviously the Middle East situation, again, more rockets fired by Israel last night. The Iranian minister has just landed in Lebanon. I think it's Lebanon. Landed in Beirut, yeah. So obviously they're talking about escalation, I assume. So we've got to be aware that obviously this situation is bubbling quite a lot at the moment. So my plan today, end of day today, is anything green is getting banked regardless of what it is. Obviously if it's like $10 or something stupid, I won't bother, but any what I call significant amounts of money, like a couple of $100, is going in here because there is potential for gaps when you have conflict. So you have to be careful with gaps. Gaps don't happen very often in Forex. He says, looking at US dollar Swiss having a massive gap, but overnight gaps. When you've got a weekend, obviously, you've got all day Saturday, all day Sunday for potential things to upset markets. So especially when there's conflict going on, you get the opportunity for huge gaps to appear. Swiss franc and yen will be your main contenders for that. So if you've got any Swiss exposure or any yen exposure, and it's like, if you've got something that you've been in for a couple of days, it's at break even, get out. It's just not worth holding over the weekend. If it gaps against you and suddenly disappears in the opposite direction, you could be stuck in it for days or weeks. So it's better just to be flat as you can with these sorts of situations. And again, that's stuff we're going to look at in the members stream this morning, exit strategies. One of them is a Friday close, obviously. So no weekend holds. So that is basically the news for today. This morning's session is probably going to be fairly rotational. You usually find we do that on non-farm payroll day because we're waiting for non-farm payroll. So when that comes out, obviously the market has a more directional bias on the US dollar. 50% plus of all trades are US dollar based. So it doesn't make sense to start any big moves, execute any large orders until you know what the dollar is going to be doing, because you could get a better deal. And if you don't get a better deal because it's likely to go the other way, you execute your orders fast, which means you get that big movement happening as the news is released. So that's what we've got coming up today. No ADRs so far today at all. Fairly flat session in Asia. Obviously, we've had no news this morning, so there's nothing really to move the market this morning so far, hence it hasn't gone anywhere. So RSIs yesterday, obviously the main move yesterday was pound. So Bailey announced that there is a likelihood of a faster drop in rates coming. Obviously the pound collapsed on that. We had 200 ADR moves plus more as well. It was big days yesterday on the pound. So I got out of my euro pound trade yesterday, which was the only exposure I had on the pound. I got out there. Obviously then it decided to go that much further. So you can never tell what is going to happen, but we had a 300 ADR. I think it was 300 ADR, wasn't it? So it was even more than that, wasn't it? Euro pound. That's a ridiculous number, isn't it? 115 on a 43 ADR. So 40, 80, pretty much 300 ADR yesterday. So I didn't take any ADR reversals yesterday or any of these mean reversions, because when you get a fundamental shift like this, sometimes they just do not come back at all. What you normally see is a flag break. Yeah, so when this is basically the pound deciding we're going to change quicker than we expected with interest rates. The market wasn't ready for it, hadn't factored it in, so now it's starting to move against the pound. So what tends to happen is you flag and then you continue that move. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it's an overreaction and they go in too fast and too hard and you get an A-shaped recovery, but then it tends to go back in the way that it started initially. So watch these propulsion moves. It's very difficult with this particular pair. That's the initial propulsion move in the hour, but you can see it was nothing but solid buying. So this whole day pretty much is one massive propulsion gap. So picking a turning point in this is very, very hard. You have to look for support resistance. So you've got a little area there which we just screamed through, but more likely it's anywhere we've broken, you could potentially find orders sitting. But it may well just flag to a level. They decide, actually, let's add more, and off you go from there, or let's dump more in this case. So watch all these pound pairs. I didn't take any of them. They have actually all played out. So if you took any of the ADR reversals yesterday on the pound, you're out. Yeah, they've worked. So if you did take them, well done. Personally, I didn't. They were obviously very aggressive moves, so you can never quite tell. But there you go. There's a good example. Pound New Zealand, pretty much a V-shaped recovery. So sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But you've got to really, I think, from what Bailey said yesterday, have a little bit more of a bearish outlook on the pound now. Whether this is an overreaction or not, we'll find out over the coming days as to how far they decide to push it. So your ADRs, obviously, there aren't any today. Aussie New Zealand weekly range extension. Got some movement on the New Zealand dollar, it looks like. What was that, Aussie? Just Aussie New Zealand pushing further. So there's your weekly range hit. So with the weeklies, we looked at all these yesterday, and obviously they're all pretty much the same. So that one's just gone now to 125. So good mean reversion opportunity there for a short. Not an RSI extension on the hourly. Well, it is. It's got above the 70 yesterday, but I'm taking 80s. So 4 hour, it is a short. Was yesterday as well. What was the reason I didn't take that yesterday? Oh, I was waiting for it to get to the monthly. So yeah, today ADR is the 2-month high. So this is extended. So I am probably going to try a short on this up here today. Beautiful support resistance. We had a propulsion move, which they added to, but the move failed. So it's a price discovery move, which didn't work out. So they obviously came straight back, came back, retested and dropped. So this is a really good, strong resistance level we got coming up at ADR today. So if we get an ADR hit Aussie New Zealand today, I shall short that because it's extended, exhausted, and at a level where you're going to find limit orders triggering. So good looking short opportunity there. That one's just coming up. So by the time we get there, we'll be 185. So 129 would be 160. So 180. So probably will trigger a 150 ADR extension. Actually, I'm just going to stick an alert there. Let's try that one. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stick an alert there, which basically I will just wait for a reversal up there. So RSIs, obviously we had lots of RSI extensions yesterday, and all the hourlies have gone. Basically, they've all mean reverted. So anything that got extended on the hourly yesterday, which there was quite a few, mainly pound pairs, they're all out. So if you took any of those, you're in profit on them all. Aussie New Zealand, obviously, it's a 4-hour RSI extension, so that is one that I will probably take today. Pound US dollar, also extended. So the pound, I'm not going along. It is a mean reversion opportunity. There is a chance it will work out. It is 2-week low bounce. However, fundamentals on this, I think potentially we've been waiting such a long time for Bailey to announce some kind of bearish news for the pound and getting those interest rates down. Yesterday he did. So I think the market now is probably going to want to try and start a move off. Obviously with this one specifically, non-farm payroll today is going to do that or that. So if you get in on the idea of a mean reversion here, it's the news which is going to make you the money, not the fact that it's a 4-hour RSI extension, but that is very extended. So if we do get further move down, i.e. bullish movement on the US, you're going to be back down here again. but it's already exhausted. They'll be ready to take profit. So you've got the previous monthly low here coming up, which you're going to find some orders at. So if we get 150 ADR hit today, you're going to get 4-hour RSI extension again. It's an ADR hit at support, which is going to have limit orders after exhaustion. So there's a good chance you're going to get a bounce off of that level. So watch this 150 level on the pound US today. New Zealand US as well is extended. So there's another opportunity for a long. It's also, I think that's a weekly weekly range extension as well. Yeah. So that's 125 of its weekly range as well. So very extended move. So good opportunity for a long there. My exposure, I'm long New Zealand CAD at the moment. So the reason I didn't take this one yesterday was because I got into New Zealand CAD yesterday. New Zealand CAD, New Zealand US, very similar. So my exposure basically is pretty much the same because the US will move the CAD. So that's the one I took. And the reason I took that one yesterday was because we were at this weekly support, which we bounced off of twice. We got a lovely little reaction down there, but then it screamed through it. We tried to get back up again, and we're just in accumulation at the moment. So it looks like I'll be adding a second onto that today. The problem with this one, oh no, this wasn't the one with the problem. So yeah, this is the one. And again, this is the reason I took this one, because if that support doesn't hold, we've got other really good support levels coming up. We've got this area here. We've got this area here. Yeah, which is, so within ADR, we've got this, and potentially that area there, although that's kind of been invalidated a bit. But we've got that area there as well. And then we've got monthly double bottom coming up at 150 ADR. So my next entry on this one is going to be here. And then obviously we'll see if we get a bounce off of there. So, but obviously that will move with non-farm payroll. Everything will move this afternoon on non-farm payroll anyway. That's it. US dollar CAD is also a little bit extended to the upside. So potentially a short opportunity coming on that one on the hourly and the 4 hourly. So 4 hourly, just about to get an alert on that as well. If it continues to push today, obviously. Morning, Danny. Morning, Forex Fire. Mumo, how we doing? Indices. Let me just quickly look back at the indices. Hedged on both. Good. Lovely morning. So we didn't manage to get through those lows. So we're going long today. By the looks of things, actually, we're probably going to rotation today, to be honest. So get out of these a little bit later. FTSE's moving well. I mean, that's as good a place as any. It's just stuck at the minute. Look, it's just been in rotation for the last week and a half. We are not going anywhere. Stock markets are not really places you want to invest at the minute, obviously, because of what's going on in the Middle East. So there's not a lot of desire to drive them at the minute. So that's 5R upside, which is a decent exit area. This propulsion moved down yesterday, and it's obviously a very good high. So yesterday's high, previous day's high, last week's high, loads of days high. So if we do push up to 5R today, that's where I'll try and get out of an aggressive exit. Downside, I'm just going to move up into this propulsion because that's been pretty supportive. So if we do get a move down through yesterday's low, I'll be looking to get out there. Want this obviously all to happen before non-farm payroll, ideally. So I won't be trading the US session at all this afternoon on indices because we will have non-farm coming out before that. So the market will have done its movement at 1:30. So it's unlikely you'll get an aggressive momentum move at the open on New York this afternoon because they will have driven all the volume through. So these will get out on non-farm payroll, but I won't be trading NASDAQ or Dow today. So there we go. That's about it for this morning. And if anybody's got any questions or anybody wants to look at any pairs, let me know. But there's not really a lot else to discuss today because today is basically sitting around waiting for non-farm payroll. Any technical analysis you do today is kind of mute because non-farm payroll is going to trump everything. So everything basically moves on non-farm. And the reason everything moves on non-farm is because the major crosses with the US dollar will all move. So if you need to dump more money into or out of the US dollar, you're going to pull it out of the other currencies to put it into the US dollar, which makes every single currency move. If you're going to buy the US dollar, obviously you need to pull it out of other currencies. If you're going to sell the US dollar, you are pulling it out of the US dollar and you need to put it into other currencies. So every single currency moves on US unemployment rate and typically on US news, but NFP is probably the biggest of the lot. So pound CAD, we can look at pound CAD. Pound CAD I got out of yesterday. So I got out of this one. No, I didn't get out yesterday. That was earlier in the week. This is a 4-hour chart. I got out of that on Tuesday on the drop. And then obviously we sat sideways. I wasn't expecting. Obviously, this has been bullish. The pound has been bullish for a good couple of months, really. For going back to June here, it's been bullish because we've been hitting these interest rates, and Bailey hasn't been dropping. Been hitting not interest rates. What am I trying to say? Inflation figures. We've been hitting the inflation targets, but Bailey hasn't dropped the interest rates. So we've been bullish on the pound. That all changed yesterday. So we had this big sell-off on Tuesday, which I suspect was a tip-off from the bank. And there was a big excavation on the pound. And then obviously Bailey announced. So the stance on this is probably now changing bearish, but obviously even in a bull market, you're going to make money because they're constantly taking profit on bull moves. They will constantly take profit on bear moves as well. So at the minute, this is the area obviously you want to be watching. It's a double monthly low. You're going to have limit orders sitting there, which is 125 ADR today. So if you're long on this from yesterday, I mean, you're sitting in profit, depending on obviously where you got in. But if you got in at any point on Tuesday long, obviously you will have taken a second position on this. What's ADR? 114. So you've got a about 175 ADR move since that move on Tuesday. So you'll probably be in I mean, there was no signal here. This is the thing. There was no signal to go long here. So if you're position trading this and you got in somewhere here or here, the only other opportunity you've had to get in is there, because the market there was no bull move there at all. There was no reversal. So if you're using the MRA, EA, or a moving average cross, there wasn't one. So you'll only be in here and here, which means your average is here and you're at break even. This is going to move this afternoon on unemployment. So either we'll get a bearish move from the US on negative news and this will rally, or we'll get a bullish move from the US and this will come down to do another leg, which means it will come down and test this 125 ADR level, in which case then you're going to find out if you get any bull reaction down there. Because there are limit orders there, we know, because they bought it twice. So, but it's not a very good support resistance level. It's this level here, basically, where we sort of broke up and accumulated for a couple of days. Then we had a propulsion move, which got retested. So this is where they started buying from. Then they added twice. We're coming back to test that level. But when we were here, we were bullish pound. Now we're bearish pound. So they may well stop and reverse. Something we're going to cover in the members area. Stop and reverse exit strategies. So, yeah. Don't know. It's all going to change this afternoon. So, morning, Neo. Morning, Traveler Log. NFP on US dollar CAD. Yep, there will be. It'll go up or down this afternoon. Don't know where. But be prepared for a big one today. The other thing you've got to bear in mind with CAD pairs as well is oil. Yeah, so we've got at the moment potential, obviously oil at the minute is having a rally. Yeah, which is obvious because of what's going on in the Middle East. Yeah, we've got Iran and plenty of other Middle Eastern countries that pipe a hell of a lot of oil and produce a hell of a lot of oil. If the war kicks off over there, the oil is going to stop. And oil is basically a commodity, which is a supply and demand driven product. So if you have less supply because oil lines either get blown up or they turn off supply because of what's going on in the Middle East, you have a supply issue, which means that demand doesn't change, supply drops and prices rise. So oil, as you can see, is going nowhere but up while this conflict is bubbling in the Middle East. We're down at a very low level on oil. Canada is a large oil exporter. So you've got a commodity currency, Canadian dollar, which will benefit from oil prices rising. So you've got potential strength on the CAD as well. So when you're looking at something like the pound CAD, we've got the pound being weak now because of what Bailey said. Potentially, obviously, the market's initial reaction was, yes, we need to sell more pound. We haven't had a confirmation of what he means by what he said, as in, are we dropping 1/4 or 0.5%, and when are we doing it? We haven't had that news yet, so it may well unravel. However, US dollar, if that has a positive move on non-farm payroll, the Canadian will rally with it, which means this will come down. If oil price continues to spike and it kicks off in the Middle East, CAD will rally, this will come down. So on this particular pair, if you're long on it, you've got 3 potential moving events. You've got the market continuing to sell the pound, you've got the US dollar rallying on positive news, and you've got oil price rising, driving the CAD. Yeah, all pointing to pound CAD down. US dollar CAD obviously is a completely different kettle of fish because the US and the CAD move together. So if there's positive US news, you tend to get positive move on the CAD. A positive move with a positive move equals a range. So the only way this is moving more is on oil, but US dollar does a lot of oil export as well, obviously. They got a hell of a lot of oil fields. So oil exporter, oil price going up means, again, that. So this pair is more likely to be like that on everything that's happening in the Middle East. So, however, obviously, the only thing that will affect this is obviously if that non-farm payroll, or rather the unemployment rate, comes out massively bullish or bearish, that might start a big move on the US today. So this could go either way. You know, this, I mean, technical analysis is absolutely useless with news because it doesn't matter. You could be the best technical analyst in the world. You could have been trading it for 10 years, read every book under the sun, be the expert in the field. When the news comes out, it doesn't matter if you've got a line on your chart or an oscillator is above a level. The news will drive the market where the news will drive the market. Fundamentals trump everything. So this afternoon, the second largest fundamental news event we ever have on the US dollar, which is unemployment. Unemployment, inflation, and interest rates, the main 3 drivers. So we'll see where it goes this afternoon. But it could be a big one today. So yeah, oil, basically, I was toying with the idea of taking an oil trade yesterday. However, I'm not the type of person that gets in and chases a move. And obviously, as you can see, tensions in the Middle East, more tensions in the Middle East. If you press the long button now, it's likely to go. Trouble is, you've missed half of this move. So I was kind of waiting to see today if we got a pullback on this. If we can get a pullback today, and we've just broken out of a weekly double top, if we can get pullback maybe into this double top today, this would be a decent one to start a position on. So oil, obviously, in times of the other thing about oil is in conflict. First of all, obviously, you've got supply disruption. Secondly, you've got demand increase because everything that happens in war is driven by vehicles, planes, tanks, trucks. What do they consume? Oil, petrol. What is this thing? Oil and petrol. Yeah. So as soon as any conflict starts, the demand for this rises through the roof and supply drops. When supply drops and demand increases, the price goes through the roof. Yeah. If you go back and look at what happened when the war kicked off in Ukraine. Yeah. This was Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. We're just about to have potentially Israel being attacked by the entire Middle East. That's the potential move you've got coming. Yeah, especially if the UN or the West get involved in this conflict, this thing's going to go through the roof. So trying to get a position started on this is a very good idea at the moment. If it all de-escalates, you can see it's going again today already, but if it de-escalates, obviously, you're just going to come down because oil price is dropping, because demand is dropping on oil. So it's bearish, but it's only bearish when there's no demand. Demand is potentially going to go through the roof, isn't it? Thanks for explaining the relationship between oil. Yeah. A lot of people trade it because it's a supply and demand driven product. So, you know, it's for position trading, I've found it very difficult. I've made some last year. If you were in the live rooms last year, you probably remember me trading gold, and I made a killing out of this thing last year. And then it kicked me in the arse really hard and took virtually all that profit away on one position because something happened and the oil price collapsed. And it collapses, and it's a bit like gold. And this is the reason I kind of don't position trade it. It goes through huge volatility spikes where it will just take off. You can't predict them, and once you're in them, you can't get out of them. So its market structure is, in the most part, pretty good. So, you know, you usually get an opportunity to get out, but sometimes it just goes parabolic, and it will go parabolic for a couple of weeks because there is a demand and supply imbalance. The problem is we have OPEC announcing and controlling supply. So at any time, OPEC and the main oil producing countries can, like Russia, for example, can turn the tap off or turn it on. So, you know, if they want to drive oil price up, it's very easy. You just turn the taps down. There's less of it out there. Price goes up. So it's very manipulatable, and you can't tell when it's going to happen, which is why I don't position trade it. Because it has fundamental drivers, but it also has manipulation drivers. A little bit like the Swiss franc. They manipulate that whenever they fancy, and it just takes off because they want to. So nothing you can do, unfortunately, with those types of instruments, which is why they're not good for position trading. But anyway, again, this afternoon, I've got EuroCAD sitting in profit at the moment. So before non-farm payroll, I will assess this and either take it. So if I'm sitting on about $400 odd of profit, I'll probably stick it in the bank. The other option is to put a break even on it and move that TP up into the high ADR levels, because obviously if we get a negative move on the US, we're going to be flying up there. If we get a positive move on the US, we're going to be out. So if you've got anything in profit at the moment on any currency, before large news, it's always a good idea just to stick it in the bank. Yeah, because you can stick it in the bank and you can spend it. If the news goes against you, you're just going to go into drawdown on it, and you've got to manage it. So it's better to take it rather than gamble. But it depends how your week, your month, your day is going. Yeah, I'm having a great week at the moment. So up 5%, 4.5% this week. So what I'll probably do this week is stick a break even on it. If I'd banked 1.5% this week, I'd be looking at banking it. Yeah. So again, this is why I can't give you any indication, and the bootcamp is very woolly about how to manage trade exits, because it all depends on this. If you've got targets you want to hit and achieve each week, this is how you do it. Yeah. Let your winners run if you're having a good week. If you're having a bad week, get stuff in the bank to give yourself a good week. Yeah. It's all about discretionary exits, which again, we're going to cover in the members session in half an hour. That's all I've got for you this morning. As I say, not a lot else I can really cover. So nobody seems to have any other pairs to look at, which is good. Yeah, if there's any other things you want to discuss and you're watching on replay, which I know a lot of people do, stick something in the comments, and we can obviously discuss it on Monday. But just be careful at the moment. Franco, I've been banking all week, now sitting on my hands, not fighting Greed Monster. No. Greed Monster is a bad monster. One of the members, AZ, who's in here at the moment, shared a video with me yesterday in the members section on Discord about the trailing stop exit strategy by one of the prop firms guys. So we're going to do a bit of testing on that this morning. Well, not so much testing, but we're going to look at it in a little bit more detail this morning because it's an exit method that I've used and I've got built into one of my EAs already. So should be a fairly interesting session this morning. But I will leave it there today, and then I'll be back. So members, I'll be back at 9 o'clock, and we will do that session on exit strategies. So be careful today, bank stuff. Obviously, try and get as flat as you can for the weekend, just in case it kicks off. But obviously, if you're on drawdown and stuff and managing like I am multi-switch, you can't. Yeah, so we'll look at Monday basically, what's happened over the weekend, and obviously go from there. But you're going to get a load of ADR opportunities and stuff on non-farm payroll probably this afternoon anyway. So getting into new positions on a Friday afternoon when war's kicking off in the Middle East, probably better to wait till Monday, see what happens. So just be careful today with entries. Okay, I will see you on the next one. Have a good weekend if I don't see you before. If I see you at 9 o'clock, I'll see you at 9 o'clock. All right. Oh, no, there was something else I was going to cover, but I'll do it in the member session. All right. So yeah, I will see you next time. Have a good one.